and welcome to episode 87 of This Week in Germany. We'll be bringing the world to Germany and Germany to the world with news for the week beginning the 31st of August 2015. My name's Daniel.
And my name's Rob. Each week we feature stories from the news, society, and culture in the English language. If you want to find out more, including ways to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, head over to our website, thisweekingermany.de. And so begins episode number 87. Daniel, how was your week this week?
My week was great. I spent 3 days in London.
Oh, nice.
And yes, that's why I wasn't really tweeting anything this week. But yeah, I realized being in London how much I love living in Berlin, specifically Berlin, but also in Germany in general. London is so loud, like all the time, everywhere you go. And if you want to just get on the underground, you've got to go down loads of flights of stairs and everything like that. And if you want to go from one underground line to another, you've got to walk like a kilometre to get between the two sides of the station. In Berlin, you walk down one set of stairs and there you go. You're ready to go. And there's not like constant announcements telling you what to do. Like, please, passengers, please remember to stand up straight and to comb your hair. Or whatever they say on the underground in London. In Berlin, there's none of that. It's just get on with your journey. Come on. So yeah, it's good being back in Germany, actually. Not that I dislike the UK or dislike London, but certainly it's a lot less hectic in Berlin.
It is also nice for you in Berlin, where they do have such a wide variety of different foods. I always love, if I have the chance to go to London, then there's just like, you can get those thick, juicy burgers or so that are harder to find in smaller towns in Germany. But in Berlin, there are quite a few delicious burger places.
Yes, definitely, and I can recommend Burgermeister, by the way, for those people who are in Berlin. Anyway, moving on, we should tell everyone why we're here this week. What have we got coming up?
This week, Heiko Maas is looking to impose stricter rules on Facebook. Also, Germany is now the major exporter to the U.S. It's taken over France, the U.S. has taken over France as being the biggest importer of German goods. Some people in Israel are quite upset that the Berlin Orchestra is going to be playing in Iran, and also some new news on Germany's biggest polar bear star, who Knut, and they did an autopsy on him and found some interesting results.
Yes, in fact, they did the autopsy a while ago, but they've since then, I don't know why this has lasted so long, they've since done more tests, and found out the real reason why he died, or found out more about how he died. But yeah, he was the star polar bear of Berlin Zoo. But also, our German of the Week this week is Egon Bahr. Now, he died of old age, and he was a prominent politician in uniting East and West Germany. So we're going to talk a little bit about his life later on in the program. And what's our destination, Germany?
Our destination, Germany, is BMW World, the world headquarters, as well as the BMW Museum, which is located next to it.
Imagine it's just like Disneyland, right?
Pretty much. Disneyland for auto lovers.
Okay, but we're going to get started with our story one. Heidenau, near Dresden in the east of Germany, became the scene of anti-immigrant rioting this week. The disorder focused on a hostel for 600 asylum seekers in the town. But as far-right attacks on immigrants increase, and the amount of new asylum seekers set to reach a record high this year, can we learn lessons from this attack? To tell us more, joining us on the line now is Associated Press correspondent Frank Jordans. So first of all, Frank, thank you very much for joining us once again here on the podcast. What triggered the riot? I mean, there are homes for asylum seekers across the country, so why here and why now?
Why here, why now? Heidenau is in Saxony, and Saxony has been the site of quite strong anti-immigrant, anti-foreigner, anti-refugee sentiment over the past year. You'll recall that Saxony is where Pegida appeared, the patriotic Europeans against the Islamization of the West, a group that drew 25,000 people at one point to their weekly protests in Dresden, not far from Heidenau. So clearly there is a groundswell of opposition to immigrants in Saxony. The question is, how much do these people represent the general population in Saxony? That's difficult to tell, but what we do know is that there hasn't really been anywhere else in Germany that has seen this level of open opposition to, in this case, refugees. So in some ways it's not entirely surprising to see this happening in Heidenau, because if it was going to happen anywhere, it was going to happen in Saxony. The town in question is also quite a small town. We know that in many of these small towns, the population has been wary of large numbers of refugees moving in. There have been groups set up on Facebook to protest against the arrival of refugees. In some cases, the protests have manifested themselves in the real world, not just on Facebook. And what happened in Heidenau may have been fueled by warm weather, the fact that the refugees were meant to arrive on a Friday when young people in Heidenau who might have been inclined to protest the refugees were out and about anyway, having a Friday night out. And there'd been a protest organized by the NPD earlier in the day. So all of those factors came together and produced this outburst of violence.
So maybe you could describe to us the outburst of violence, what exactly happened, and also what the reaction to that from the police was.
Well, what happened was that the protesters, a hard core of protesters from the afternoon demonstration, lingered on in the vicinity of this refugee shelter. It seems that they were planning to prevent the refugees from moving into the shelter that evening. The refugees were meant to be brought there by bus, and clearly fueled by a certain amount of alcohol and it seems bravado, at least judging from the videos. Some of the demonstrators started hurling objects at police, letting off fireworks, and it became something you might call a riot, in fact. Police seemed unprepared for the violence. They said that they had 140 officers on the ground on Friday evening. It seems that those 140 officers weren't able to clamp down on the actions of a couple of dozen, maybe 100 protesters. And so the refugees who were meant to be arriving that night struggled to make it through. The buses struggled to make it through to the shelter. And
how did politicians handle the news? I know by the end of the week there was a ban on demonstrations in the town. The legality of that was debated, but also, how did politicians react in terms of their statements, in terms of how they denounced? I heard, for example, that Angela Merkel didn't step in with a statement early enough and was criticized for that, for example.
The response from politicians in Germany was a little bit slow. It's not every night, clearly, that anti-refugee violence happens in Germany, at least not on this scale. And so it was a little bit surprising that on the morning after the violence, there were only one or two top-level politicians who spoke out against it. After the second night of rioting on Saturday, there were more condemnations. But it wasn't until Monday, when Angela Merkel had received a lot of criticism from commentators and in the press for not speaking out against the far-right riots, that her spokesman said some quite strong words about what had happened in Heidenau and condemned it unequivocally. And then a couple of hours later, she herself, during a press conference, said clearly that what had happened was unacceptable. So by that time, by Monday, good 48 hours after the events, that's when the message really came out from the German government that there wouldn't be any tolerance for this kind of activity.
And of course, it's not the first time in recent weeks that we've seen attacks on immigrants in Germany. So what can you tell us about other incidents that have happened recently? And apparently these attacks are on the rise.
Yes, attacks against refugees and asylum centres have been on the rise, as has the number of asylum seekers in Germany over the past year. So authorities have set up something called a clearinghouse for violent attacks to check whether there is a political element to it, a far-right element, for example. And what they've done with all attacks outside refugee shelters is they've tried to determine whether this is actually the work of far-right extremists or possibly just criminal behavior of a general nature. And authorities say that there were 202 incidents, crimes basically, in the first 6 months of the year, which is about double the figure from 2014, from the first 6 months of 2014, which is obviously of great concern to the authorities, although it has to be said that the number of asylum seekers coming to Germany has also increased drastically during the first 6 months of this year. So there's a certain parallel there. As more people have come, there have been more incidents, more targets. These figures end at the end of June, but anecdotally, these attacks have stepped up even more, if anything. There have been almost daily reports of arson attacks against refugee shelters, or shelters that buildings are intended to house refugees. Although it also has to be said that some of the incidents have later turned out not to be of a far-right nature.
Okay, well, let's hope that some kind of change takes place in order to make refugees feel a bit more welcome here, because, you know, when they leave a terrible situation and they enter another one, I don't think it's really good for humanity, let's put it that way. Okay, thank you very much, Associated Press correspondent Frank Jordans, for joining us here on the podcast once again.
And now for this week's News in Brief. Germany's Justice Minister, Heiko Maas, has sent an open letter to media giant Facebook. Maas calls for Facebook's community standards to be more efficient and transparent. His meaning is that Facebook needs to take responsibility for the hateful speech on its site. Right now, he says that when people complain about xenophobic and hateful attacks on protests at refugee camps, those users are not being banned. And those submitting complaints are only receiving messages back from Facebook that no violation for community standards has been made. He wants to know why Facebook is very quick to ban any user who posts any sort of nudity, but often fails to ban racist postings. He also wants to remind the company that they are legally obligated to delete any sort of illegal postings in countries where they operate. Maas wants all to know that Germany and himself are not against free speech, but they will not tolerate a place where racist abuses and illegal posts can flourish. Some controversy this week directed toward Berlin's orchestra and one of their upcoming performances. How could there be a controversy or a problem about a musical performance being given by these world-renowned musicians? The answer is because they're looking to collaborate with another orchestra in Iran. The ones irate about this plan are those protesting it from Israel. Recently, there have been some major issues, mainly dealing with nuclear power, between Iran and pretty much a large part of the world, including Germany. Now, a deal has been struck last month, and cultural exchanges between the countries is possible again, which includes music. Israel, though, is still not in the best place with Iran at the present time, and considers Germany to be one of its stronger allies. They feel that it's not right for Germany to do this, and it's an affront to them. Israeli officials have even gone so far as to lobby the German government against the visit. The concert has now been postponed, but the organizers say that they're looking for a new date. In economics, the United States is now the largest importer of German goods. For multiple decades, Germany's neighbor, France, was the country where most exports were being shipped to. The head of the External Trade Department in Germany's Chamber of Commerce said that this trend will not be changing anytime soon, and one of the biggest reasons for this change is that the U.S. economy is starting to expand again. Another reason, something a little closer to home, is that the euro, which had been doing well, is starting to grow weaker, and the countries using it now have overall less purchasing power than before. Now, almost 1 in 10 euros earned abroad by German exporters came from the United States in the first half of 2015. It was a tragic time in Germany, especially for Berliners in 2011, when the country's most well-known polar bear, Knut, died. This bear became famous right after his birth, when the mama polar bear rejected her cub. But with the love and professionalism of Knut's handler, he was nursed and kept in good health. His death came quickly and unexpectedly, where Knut collapsed and died in his enclosure at only 4 years old. He was examined after his death, and the cause was said to be a swollen brain. What wasn't explained was what caused the illness. It was only recently that a researcher on neurodegenerative disorders, Harold Preuss in Berlin, came across a possible answer. He found that Knut had antibodies in his blood that were also being found in some humans that died under similar circumstances. After more research, he collaborated with Alex Greenwood, an expert in wildlife diseases. They found that Knut had a rare disorder that previously had only been found in humans and not in animals. It's called Anti-immigrant. In the future, animals showing these symptoms have the chance of being saved with a treatment that is similar to which humans receive. And coming up right now is Destination Germany, where we take you on a journey somewhere in the country that we think is well worth a visit. Whether you're a tourist or permanent resident, or even if you're a German citizen. We'll be covering all those famous sites, as well as the little-known corners of Deutschland. The diamonds in the rough, as you will. And all that really matters, though, is showing you that Germany is a extremely interesting and exciting place to visit. And if you enjoy the destinations that we talk about each week, you have to check out our website, thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have photos of some of the pictures of what we're showing you each week.
We'll have photos of the pictures, of the images of every single destination we have this week. So in our last episode, our destination was in Saxony's capital, Dresden. We took you to the Zwinger and the Semper Gallery, a beautiful place right by the Elbe River. Having been a inner city fortress a long time ago, it still has a partial moat going around it. There are multiple museums within, including the Gallery of Old Masters, the Dresden Porcelain Collection, and the Royal Cabinet of Mathematical and Physical Instruments, which sounds quite sinister. It is one of those, but it's actually less sinister than it sounds. It is one of those places that you just have to visit while in Dresden. I mean, Dresden is already a beautiful city as it is, so it's well worth going there. So then why not visit this place while you're there? Oh, and it has the famous Nymphenbad fountain as well. A truly remarkable Baroque water fountain. But now, let's move on to this week's destination. Take it away, Rob.
Okay, I have to start out with a question for you.
Okay, a question that has a high chance of being correct if I have an answer for you, I'm guessing, I'm just one of those trivia guys.
It's more of a personal question, so there's no real wrong answers. Okay, Here it goes. What do you think of when you think of Germany?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question. I mean, Germany is known for many things and has a lot to offer, but,
Okay, well, I'll rephrase it. Name some stereotypical things that are German, just off the top of your head.
Well, stereotypes, beer, sausages, lederhosen, environmentally conscious Oktoberfest, quality engineering, cars, bread. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Well, I'm glad that you hit one of those things that Germany is known for, which I'm going to tell you about today, which is cars.
Ah, okay.
We have another destination, which is in a place that I can't believe that I have not gone yet. We're going to the city of Munich, which I never really get a chance to visit, but I really want to because there's so much cool stuff there. Like, for instance, the world headquarters of BMW and the BMW Museum, which BMW in German, if you were to hear it, is BMW. It is one of the most popular and well-known luxury cars sold all around the planet.
Yeah, when people around the world think of Germany and cars, I mean, I think of BMW and Mercedes and these kinds of brands. I mean, they're instantly come to mind. I mean, BMW is huge, both around the world and in Germany itself.
So, in Munich, BMW World is where cars are manufactured, it's this car manufacturer's main headquarters. And because so many people are just in love with these cars, they have opened it up to the public, and you can take a tour or just look around. And right across the street from BMW World or BMW World is a BMW museum, and it's an entire museum dedicated just to BMW, the brand.
Okay, so you want to take us to some boring headquarter offices of some car company, right?
Exactly. Wait, no, definitely not boring. So you know,
I was just testing you there.
So you know that they are great in the design department. All their cars look beautiful, and it doesn't stop there because this place is a modern marvel of futuristic architecture. The building itself for their headquarters. Once you're able to close your mouth from amazement, you should open it back up and ask for a tour. The prices are only €7 for just a normal tour of BMW World, though you can look around for yourself free of charge.
And what do you get with the tour?
They take you all over the headquarters, which, as I said, looks fantastic, and they have tons of cool cars on display. They tell you stories about BMW's business innovation, as well as giving you some of those behind-the-scenes look at how it all works and how they can supply this premium car to people all over the world. They also offer a premium tour, and this is going to bump up your ticket price to €22, and it is 3 times as long as the normal tour. The normal tour is an hour, the premium tour is 3 hours, and they take you to the museum, which is across the street as well, and they also take you to the group plant, and you get to see exactly how this extravagant yet practical automobiles are being made from the wheels up. It looks amazing.
Yeah, sounds cool. So what's in the museum?
Well, the museum, if you just want to go there and skip the headquarters, it only costs €10, though if you pay €3 more, you can have a 1-hour tour of the museum as well. And it has a fascinating overview of the company's history, the history of the brand and the products of BMW. And they have about 125 of BMW's most valuable and attractive-looking cars, as well as motorcycles and some of the engines that they have made. I'm just so excited. I really want to go there.
Great. And is there anything else you can tell us about the BMW Museum and BMW World, or BMW World, if you want to say it in the German way, BMW World headquarters, before we wrap this up?
Well, funny you should bring that up, because there is indeed.
Well, that's convenient.
They have a rotating special exhibition that is, or different rotating special exhibitions that are going on all the time, and one that has just recently started up and is going on until the end of the year is all about the BMW Roadster and its designs and updates through history. The Roadster, by the way, is a super sporty 2-seat convertible, and I can say they look freaking cool starting in the 50s and to what they look like today. This is just one of those cars that I just dream about driving. And I really need to make it down to Munich before this is over.
Are you much of a car driver, Rob?
I used to be. I used to consider myself... I have driven some BMWs before, and they were nice. I've been on on a BMW tour when I still lived in the States. But now that I've moved to Germany, I really just don't see myself needing a car right now. It's really great just because of the public transportation, but it doesn't mean I don't want one.
Yeah, I mean, I would like a car, but just to have a car because I just can't drive. But if you're one of those fantasists like me who doesn't need a car but still would like to experience a bit of what it's like to, sit in and get behind the scenes of an amazing, cool car and just some great German engineering, You should check out the BMW World Headquarters and Museum, and you can see photos of that very destination on our website, thisweekingermany.de. All of the pictures of all of our destinations are on there every single week. But now, moving on to our German of the Week section, where we put the spotlight on a prominent person from this week's news, who could be a German citizen or even a foreigner who we deem an honorary German, who's had an effect, for better or worse, on German culture, society, or politics.
Our German of the Week is one of West Berlin's most notable previous mayors, Egon Bahr. He died this week at age 93. One of the more impressive accomplishments of Bahr's is that he had a great involvement in the reunification of the country. He played a key role in joining the East and West back together again. He wrote a paper in 1963 called Change Through Rapprochement. It was a statement of principle for what became known as Ostpolitik. This principle was all about the western side of Germany wanting to seek reconciliation with the Communist bloc. He joined with the Social Democrats Party and became Deputy Chancellor and Foreign Minister of West Germany. It was with his hard work that he opened lines of communication between the East and the West, to start small steps, one by one, to join together again. He did get caught up in a scandal involving an East German spy in the Chancellery, and he ended up resigning his post. But he was soon recalled to the office by Chancellor Helmut Schmidt. He later became the parliamentary manager of the SPD, but then he quit working for the Bundestag in 1990 when the reunification treaty was signed. His goal of reuniting the East and West finally became a reality.
And that's it for episode number 87. Thank you very much for listening. But if you want to get some of your German news fix throughout the week between episodes, here's how you can do it. Rob.
Well, first, go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, where we have all the episodes listed as well as some of the different news stories going on during the week. And you can also check us out on Twitter and Facebook, where you can find some stuff that does not make it to the website, but it doesn't mean it's not cool as well. Also, Instagram. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Instagram is great. So all of the links to all of our social media are on our website. I particularly recommend the Twitter and the Facebook for keeping up with all the latest from Germany throughout the week. So yes, also you can donate to us via our website as well. It helps us keep our server costs and domain costs in order. Thank you very much. This Week in Germany is produced by me, Daniel Winter. It is written and presented by myself and Rob Bishop. So, as always, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back in 7 days with more of This Week in Germany.